As a forest ranger, my life revolves around the rhythms of nature, the rustling of leaves, the call of birds, and the whisper of the wind through the trees. For years, I've dedicated myself to preserving the beauty and integrity of the forests in the United States, patrolling trails, educating visitors, and ensuring that the ecosystems thrive. However, my current assignment in Sweden brought with it a sense of both excitement and trepidation. The vast, rugged wilderness of Swedish Lapland was unlike anything I had ever experienced, each mountain and valley steeped in history and mystery. Today's journey had begun early, as the sun barely peeked over the horizon, casting a pale light across the landscape. The snow crunched beneath my boots as I made my way along a narrow path that wound its way up the mountain. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and fresh snow. My goal was to inspect the hiking trails, ensuring they were safe for the few brave souls who ventured into this remote area during winter. But as I climbed higher, an inexplicable feeling nagged at me, a sense of being watched, as if the very mountain held its breath in anticipation. As I ascended, the scenery shifted dramatically. The lush coniferous trees began to thin out, replaced by rocky outcrops and patches of ice that clung stubbornly to the earth. The landscape was stark yet beautiful, a reminder of nature's raw power. I paused to take in the view, the vast expanse of white stretching out before me, a blank canvas waiting for the brushstrokes of adventure. Yet, beneath the surface beauty, there was an undercurrent of something unsettling, an urge to tread carefully, as if I were a trespasser in a realm that demanded respect. After several hours of hiking, I noticed something glinting in the distance, a flash of unnatural light against the white backdrop. My curiosity piqued. I altered my course, heading toward the source of the shimmer. As I approached, I realized it was the entrance to a cave, partially obscured by snow and ice. The sight sent a shiver down my spine. Caves often held secrets, and not all of them were benign. But there was an undeniable allure, a magnetic pull that urged me to investigate further. Kneeling down, I brushed away the snow to reveal a dark opening that seemed to beckon me inside. The air that wafted from the cave was cold and damp, carrying with it an unfamiliar scent, something metallic and ancient. I hesitated for a moment, my instincts warring with my curiosity. As a ranger, I had learned to trust my gut, but the allure of discovery often drowned out the whispers of caution. I pulled out my headlamp and took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever lay beyond the threshold. Crawling through the narrow entrance, I felt the darkness envelop me, a stark contrast to the bright, open world outside. The cave walls were rough and damp, and as I moved deeper into the mountain, I could hear the faint sound of dripping water echoing around me. My heart raced, not just from the thrill of exploration, but from the strange sensation that I was intruding on something sacred, something that had lain undisturbed for countless years. Finally, I entered a larger chamber, the light of my headlamp illuminating the walls adorned with strange markings, symbols that seemed to pulse with an energy of their own. The air was thick with a sense of history, and I felt as if I were standing on the precipice of discovery. What had once been a simple patrol had transformed into an expedition into the unknown, a venture into the heart of a mountain that had secrets of its own. As I stood in that cavern, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone. The shadows seemed to shift and sway, and the temperature dropped even further. It was as if the cave was alive, responding to my presence. I felt an almost primal fear wash over me, a reminder that some places are best left untouched. Yet, the urge to uncover the truth was overpowering. In that moment, I knew I had crossed a threshold. Whatever lay ahead was not just a geological formation. It was a gateway to the past, a portal to stories long forgotten. And as I took my first steps deeper into the cave, I prepared myself for whatever revelations awaited, fully aware that this journey would test not only my skills as a ranger, but also my understanding of the world around me. I was about to encounter something truly extraordinary, something that would forever change my perspective on the wilderness I had come to love. As I ventured deeper into the cave, the darkness enveloped me, wrapping around me like a thick blanket. The air grew colder, and I could feel a pulse of energy resonating through the stone walls. Each step echoed in the silence, amplifying the sensation that I was intruding upon an ancient sanctuary, a place that had been hidden from the world above for centuries. In the dim light of my headlamp, I could make out the markings on the walls more clearly. They were unlike anything I had ever seen before, intricate designs that seemed to weave together stories of beings that walked this earth long ago. Some symbols resembled animals, while others were more abstract, possibly representing elements like water, fire and earth. My heart raced with excitement. This could be a significant archaeological find, a glimpse into a civilization that had thrived in this harsh environment. As I traced my fingers over the markings, I felt a connection to the past, an unspoken bond with those who had come before me. I imagined the hands that had carved these symbols into the stone, perhaps as a means of communication or a way to honor the spirits of the land. It was a humbling experience, and I was struck by the realization that I was part of a much larger narrative, one that transcended time and space. Just then, a faint noise broke my reverie, a soft rustling sound emanating from deeper within the cave. I paused, my heart pounding in my chest. Was it an animal, or something more sinister? The silence of the cave had been heavy, and the sudden sound felt like an intrusion. I tightened my grip on my flashlight, illuminating the darkness ahead, and took a cautious step forward. As I rounded a bend in the cave, I stumbled upon a small chamber, its walls adorned with more markings, but this with emotion, laden with a sense of longing and loss. I could almost hear the echoes of chants and laughter, but the joy felt overshadowed by a sorrow that lingered in the air. It was as if the very stones were weeping for what once was, a reminder of the fragility of existence. I took a step back, feeling the weight of the moment settle over me. This was more than just an archaeological site. It was a reflection of lives lived, connections made, and a culture that had thrived in harmony with the land. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that this space held secrets that could turn from wonder to terror in an instant. Suddenly, a chill swept through the chamber, and I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. The temperature plummeted, and the shadows cast by my headlamp danced wildly on the walls, creating an illusion of movement. I could sense a presence, an unseen watcher lurking just beyond the edges of my light. Panic bubbled within me, urging me to flee, but my curiosity held me captive. "Hello!" I called out, my voice trembling slightly. I was met with silence, the only response the echo of my own voice. But the unease lingered, a palpable tension that made my skin crawl. I turned to leave, my instincts screaming that it was time to retreat, but something compelled me to look back one last time. In that moment, I noticed an object glinting in the far corner of the chamber, something metallic peeking out from beneath a pile of rocks. Driven by a mix of fear and intrigue, I moved closer, my heart racing as I knelt down to uncover it. As I brushed the dirt away, I revealed a small, ornate dagger, its blade shimmering in the light. The hilt was intricately designed, adorned with the same symbols that decorated the walls. I felt a rush of adrenaline as I held the dagger in my hands, its cold metal contrasting with the warmth of my skin. This was no ordinary artifact. It was a ceremonial piece, a tool once used in rituals that celebrated life and death. But as I examined it further, a sense of foreboding settled over me. The dagger felt heavy with history, and I could almost hear the whispers of those who had wielded it. At that moment, I understood that this cave held more than just artifacts. It held the weight of a culture's memory, a reminder of the delicate balance between reverence and fear. The stories carved into the stone were not merely for decoration. They were warnings, reminders of the power that lay in the rituals of the past. With the dagger in hand, I felt a surge of responsibility. My role as a ranger was not just to protect the land, but to honor the histories that shaped it. As I carefully placed the dagger back on the ground, I realized that I had to tread carefully. This cave was not just a discovery. It was a testament to the resilience of those who had come before me, a reminder that the past is always watching, waiting for its stories to be told. As I stood in the dim light of the cave, the ornate dagger resting at my feet, I felt a rush of emotions, excitement, curiosity, and an underlying sense of dread. The discovery was monumental, but it came with an unsettling realization. I was not alone in this space, and whatever presence lingered within the cave was not pleased with my intrusion. The air grew thicker, almost electric, as if the very walls were alive with tension. I took a step back, the cool stone pressing against my back, and felt the weight of history pressing down on me. The symbols etched into the walls seemed to shift in the flickering light of my headlamp, their meanings now obscured by the unease that had settled within my mind. I had come seeking knowledge, but what I found was a portal to something much darker. Suddenly I heard it again, the soft rustling sound, now closer, more pronounced. My heart raced as I turned, shining my light into the depths of the cave. Shadows danced and twisted, creating an illusion of movement that sent shivers down my spine. I could feel a presence, something ancient and powerful, watching me from the darkness. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice echoing against the stone. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the sound of my own breathing. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, a reminder that I was very much alive in a place that felt steeped in the remnants of a long-lost civilization. As I gathered my courage, I couldn't shake the sense that I was trespassing on sacred ground. The markings on the walls, the ceremonial dagger, these were not mere artifacts. They were remnants of a culture that had thrived here, a culture that may have practiced rituals that echoed through time. I could almost hear their chants, the whispers of the past urging me to leave, to turn back. But curiosity compelled me to delve deeper into the mystery. I took another step forward, determined to uncover the truth of this place. The deeper I ventured, the more the air shifted, thickening with an oppressive energy that wrapped around me like a shroud. It was as if the cave itself was alive, breathing, pulsing with a consciousness that demanded respect. Then, without warning, a low growl reverberated through the chamber, echoing off the stone walls. My heart dropped as I spun around, illuminating the darkness with my headlamp. The beam flickered across the walls, revealing fleeting shadows that seemed to move just out of reach. Panic surged through me, and I felt the primal instinct to flee, to escape whatever force was lurking in the darkness. But a part of me, rooted in my training as a ranger, remained resolute. I couldn't let fear dictate my actions. I had come here to protect the land, to honor its history, and I wouldn't back down now. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the moment. "I mean no harm," I called out into the darkness. "I am here to learn, to understand." The growl intensified, resonating through my bones, and I felt an overwhelming sense of foreboding wash over me. It was a warning, a reminder that some doors should remain closed, some secrets buried. But the explorer in me refused to back down. I was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. In that moment of defiance, I remembered the legends I had heard from the locals about the mountain, stories of spirits that guarded the land, of ancient rituals that connected the living with the dead. Had I awakened something that had been lying dormant for centuries? Had my presence disturbed a delicate balance that should have remained undisturbed? As the growl echoed in my ears, I felt a sudden rush of wind sweep through the cave, extinguishing my headlamp. Darkness enveloped me, suffocating and complete. I fumbled for my flashlight, panic rising in my chest. I could hear the rustling growing louder, circling around me, taunting me with its proximity. My breath quickened, and I felt a primal fear surge within me. Just as I managed to flick the flashlight back on, I caught a glimpse of it, a shadowy figure standing at the entrance to the chamber, its features indistinct but imposing. It was as if the darkness had taken form, a guardian of the secrets I had sought to uncover. My heart raced as I faced this apparition, a being that seemed to embody the very essence of the mountain. "Leave this place," it seemed to command, though no words were spoken, only a deep, resonant feeling that reverberated through my entire being. The air grew thick, charged with an energy that was both frightening and awe-inspiring. I felt the weight of the moment pressing down on me, the gravity of the ancient wisdom contained within this space. It was a reminder that I was but a visitor in a land steeped in history, and I had crossed a line that should not have been crossed. With a surge of adrenaline, I took a step back, realizing that my pursuit of knowledge had come at a cost. The cave had revealed its truths, but it also demanded respect for the mysteries that lay within. I could feel the pull of the shadows, the call of the unknown, but I knew then that I had to choose between uncovering the secrets of the mountain and honoring the spirits that guarded it. In that moment, I made my decision. I would retreat, allowing the mountain to keep its secrets for now. I was an explorer, yes, but first and foremost, I was a protector of the land, and it was time to heed the warnings that had been laid before me. As I stood before the shadowy figure in the cave, a wave of realization washed over me. My expedition was no longer just a professional assignment. It had morphed into something deeply personal. The mountain, with its hidden secrets and ancient spirits, was challenging me to confront my own motivations and fears. As I took a step back, the implications of my presence here began to unravel in my mind, revealing subplots that intertwined with my main quest for knowledge. One subplot emerged from my memories of the stories my grandfather told me about his own adventures in the wild. He had been a ranger too, dedicated to preserving the forests and sharing the beauty of nature with others. He often spoke of the spirits of the land, warning me to respect the wilderness and its hidden mysteries. "Nature has a way of protecting itself," he would say, his eyes sparkling with the wisdom of his experiences. "Sometimes, it's best to leave things undiscovered." His voice echoed in my mind as I faced the figure, reminding me of the lessons I had learned from him. Was I honoring my grandfather's legacy by seeking the truth, or was I disrespecting the very land he had revered? The complexity of my motivations clashed with the responsibility I felt as a ranger. This inner conflict fueled my anxiety, forcing me to grapple with the weight of my choices. Another subplot emerged as I reflected on my past experiences in the field. I had always been drawn to the thrill of discovery, breaking boundaries and uncovering secrets that lay beneath the surface. Yet, each time I ventured into the unknown, I had witnessed the consequences of that curiosity. I recalled the stories of fellow rangers who had become consumed by their pursuits, individuals who ventured too far into uncharted territories and never returned, their fates sealed by their thirst for knowledge. The thought of becoming another lost soul among the mountains haunted me. I realized that my desire to uncover the cave's secrets mirrored the reckless ambition of those who had come before me. The figure before me seemed to embody the spirits of those who had been lost, their warnings echoing in the depths of the cave. Each heartbeat reminded me of the fine line I was walking, the danger of losing myself in my quest for understanding. As I navigated through these complex emotions, I also thought about the local communities that held deep connections to the land. I had spent time interviewing residents, listening to their tales of the mountain, and learning about their cultural beliefs. Many spoke of the spirits that inhabited the area, the guardian entities who watched over the land and its inhabitants. They revered the mountain as sacred, understanding that it held stories that were not theirs to uncover. I had initially dismissed some of these stories as folklore, but as I stood before the figure, I began to see them in a new light. The locals were not merely sharing tales, they were imparting wisdom that had been passed down through generations. Their reverence for the mountain was a testament to their understanding of the land's complexities, an understanding that I had overlooked in my eagerness to explore. The interconnectedness of my personal journey, the legacy of my grandfather, the cautionary tales of fellow rangers, and the wisdom of the local communities all converged in that moment. The shadows around me shifted, and I felt the weight of their collective histories pressing in. I was not just an outsider seeking answers. I was part of a narrative that spanned generations, a story that demanded respect and humility. As the figure loomed before me, I realized that I had a choice to make. I could continue to push forward, driven by my ambition and curiosity, or I could heed the warnings that surrounded me. The complexity of my situation was no longer just about the cave or the secrets it held. It was about understanding my place within this intricate web of life and history. With a deep breath, I stepped back, allowing the figure to fade into the shadows. I chose to honor the land and its stories, recognizing that some mysteries were meant to remain undiscovered. I would return to the surface, not just as a ranger but as a guardian of the land, committed to sharing the importance of preservation and respect for the spirits that inhabit it. As I retraced my steps through the cave, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The subplots that had emerged were not burdens, but rather integral parts of my journey. They enriched my understanding of the land and the responsibilities that came with my role as a ranger. I would carry these lessons with me, weaving them into my work and the stories I shared with others. Emerging from the cave, the sunlight flooded my senses, illuminating the stark beauty of the mountain. I knew that the shadows would always linger, but I also understood that they were a vital part of the landscape's identity. I had not uncovered all the secrets of the mountain, nor had I fully explored its depths, but I had discovered something far more profound, a connection to the land, its history, and the spirits that protected it. In that moment, I resolved to honor the mountain, to become its steward, and to share its stories with those willing to listen. The journey ahead would be different. I would embrace the complexities of my role, understanding that every step I took would echo in the hearts of those who walked the trails after me. As I emerged from the cave, the sunlight hit me like a wave, momentarily blinding me. I squinted against the brightness, the stark contrast between the dark, intimate world I had just left and the wide-open expanse of the mountain felt surreal. The air was fresh and cool, filled with the scent of pine and earth, yet I could still feel the chill from the depths of the cave lingering in my bones. I took a moment to gather my thoughts, reflecting on the experience that had just unfolded within those ancient walls. The figure, the markings, the heavy silence, it all weighed heavily on my mind. I had instinctively turned back, choosing to respect the spirits and the stories of the land rather than push forward into the unknown. But what did that mean for me as a ranger? I was meant to explore, to uncover, to protect. Had I failed in my duty? The sunlight warmed my skin as I made my way back down the rocky path, but my heart felt heavy. I had come to this mountain with the hope of understanding its secrets, yet I had left with more questions than answers. The stories I had heard from locals about the mountain's spirits echoed in my mind, and I understood now that they were not merely tales to frighten children. They were lessons meant to guide those who walked the land. As I reached the base of the mountain, the familiar sounds of the forest enveloped me. Birds chirping, leaves rustling in the gentle breeze, and the distant sound of a stream flowing. But I could not shake the feeling that something had shifted within me. I was no longer just a ranger. I had become a custodian of the land's stories. The responsibility felt immense, yet I was determined to honor it. Suddenly, I heard a voice calling my name. I turned to see a fellow ranger, Anna, approaching. She had been assigned to the same district, but had taken a different trail that day. Her expression was a mix of concern and curiosity. "Hey, I was starting to worry about you. I saw your tracks leading up the mountain, but you didn't return when I expected." "What happened?" she asked, her brow furrowed. I hesitated, unsure of how to explain the depth of my experience. "I found a cave," I replied slowly. Inside, I discovered some ancient markings and a ceremonial dagger. But there was also something else. A presence. Anna's eyes widened, and she stepped closer. "What do you mean, a presence?" I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. It felt like I was being watched. There was a figure in the shadows, and I could just sense that I wasn't alone. I decided to turn back before I crossed a line I shouldn't. Her expression shifted from concern to intrigue. "That sounds incredible. Did you document the markings? We have to report this to the regional office. It could be a significant archaeological find." I shook my head. I didn't take any photos. I felt it was wrong to disturb the site further. The cave felt sacred, and I didn't want to exploit it. Anna looked at me, her expression softening. "I understand. You did the right thing. Sometimes the value of a place lies in the respect we show it, not in the records we keep." Her words resonated with me, reaffirming the choices I had made. I think I need to rethink my role as a ranger. It's not just about protecting the land, but also about honoring the stories and spirits that inhabit it, I said, the weight of my realization settling in. Anna nodded, a smile breaking across her face. "That's a beautiful perspective. We can help educate others about the importance of respecting these spaces, ensuring they understand the significance of what's here." As we walked back together, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I wasn't just a guardian of the forest. I was a storyteller, a bridge between the past and present. The mountain had shared its secrets with me, and in return, I had to ensure that those stories lived on. We reached the trailhead, where a group of hikers was preparing to venture up the mountain. I approached them, a sense of urgency propelling me forward. "Before you head up, I'd like to share something important," I began, the words flowing from me. I recounted my experience in the cave, the markings, and the significance of respecting the land and its spirits. The hikers listened intently, their faces a mix of wonder and contemplation. I could see the spark of curiosity in their eyes, a desire to connect with the mountain in a way that honored its history. As I spoke, I felt more grounded, more connected to my purpose. I wasn't just sharing information. I was inviting them into a narrative that spanned generations. The mountain was alive with stories, and I had become a part of that tapestry. By the time the group set off on their hike, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. I had made a choice to be a steward of the land, a protector of its narratives. The mountain's secrets were not mine to uncover alone. They belonged to everyone who walked its trails. As Anna and I made our way back to the ranger station, I realized that I had crossed a threshold. The experience in the cave had transformed me, shifting my perspective on my role as a ranger. No longer was I merely a protector of the physical landscape. I was also a guardian of its stories, committed to ensuring that the spirits of the mountain were honored and remembered. I was ready to embrace this new chapter, to weave the complexities of the land's history into my work, and to share the lessons I had learned with others. The mountain had changed me, and I was determined to honor that transformation in every step I took moving forward. In the days that followed my transformative experience on the mountain, I felt a profound shift within myself and in the way I approached my role as a forest ranger. The weight of responsibility had settled upon my shoulders, not only to protect the land, but also to honor the stories and spirits that inhabited it. This new perspective began to ripple through my interactions with fellow rangers, hikers, and the community. When I returned to the ranger station, I shared my experience with Anna and our colleagues. They listened with rapt attention as I recounted the cave, the ancient markings, and the presence I had felt. I could see the intrigue in their eyes, but I also sensed a subtle hesitation, an uncertainty about how to approach the sacredness of the land now that we were aware of its deeper significance. "Are we to treat every place like it's sacred?" one of the newer rangers asked, skepticism evident in her voice. "I mean, isn't it our job to manage the land for public use?" I took a deep breath, understanding her perspective. Yes, but managing the land doesn't mean we should exploit its stories. Instead, we can educate visitors about the cultural significance of these sites, encouraging them to respect and honor what's already here. The conversation sparked a lively debate among the team. Some agreed with my viewpoint, emphasizing the importance of fostering a deeper connection with nature and its history. Others remained skeptical, concerned about how to balance public access with cultural preservation. I could feel the tension in the room, but I also sensed an opportunity for growth. Over the next few weeks, Anna and I organized a series of workshops for the team, focusing on the history of the land, the indigenous cultures that had thrived there, and the importance of respecting sacred spaces. We invited local historians and representatives from indigenous communities to share their insights, weaving together the threads of history and reverence for the land. The workshops were met with mixed reactions. Some rangers were enthusiastic, eager to learn and engage with the stories of the land. Others were resistant, hesitant to change the way they had always approached their work. However, as the sessions progressed, I watched as the conversations shifted from skepticism to curiosity. The stories of the land began to resonate with my colleagues, sparking a sense of connection that was previously absent. One afternoon, we gathered around a campfire after a long day of training. The warmth of the flames mirrored the growing camaraderie among us. A senior ranger named Mark, who had initially been dismissive of my ideas, surprised everyone by sharing his own experiences in the field. "I used to think it was all just wilderness out here," he said, his voice low but steady. "But I've seen things on my patrols that I can't explain. Strange lights at night, the feeling of being watched. I thought it was just my imagination, but now I wonder if there's something more to this place." His admission opened the floodgates for others to share their own stories. One by one, rangers began to recount their encounters with the inexplicable, whispers in the wind, fleeting shadows, and an overwhelming sense of connection to the land. It was as if the walls that had separated us melted away, revealing a shared understanding of the power of nature and its mysteries. As the weeks turned into months, the impact of our workshops began to ripple through the community. We started collaborating with local schools to develop educational programs that emphasized the importance of respecting the land's history. Field trips took on new meaning as we led students on hikes, sharing not only the beauty of the landscape, but also its stories. The reactions from the community were overwhelmingly positive. Parents expressed gratitude for the effort to instill a sense of responsibility and reverence in their children. Local indigenous leaders appreciated our willingness to acknowledge and honor their history, fostering a dialogue that had long been overlooked. I felt a sense of fulfillment as I witnessed the transformation, both in myself and in those around me. However, this newfound awareness didn't come without challenges. Some community members were resistant to change, viewing our efforts as an intrusion on their recreational activities. Arguments erupted at town meetings about the balance between conservation and public access. I found myself standing at the forefront of these discussions, advocating for a shift in perspective. During one particularly heated town hall meeting, a local business owner stood up, voice filled with frustration. "This is a tourist town. We can't restrict access to the mountains because of a few stories. People come here for the adventure, not history lessons." I took a deep breath, knowing I needed to respond thoughtfully. Adventure and history don't have to be mutually exclusive. We can create experiences that honor the land's stories while still allowing people to enjoy its beauty. Imagine guided tours that share the cultural significance of the sites, enhancing the experience for everyone. The tension in the room subsided slightly as the community began to consider the possibility of merging adventure with education. It was a turning point in our efforts, a moment of realization that the stories of the land could enrich the experiences of visitors, drawing them in on a deeper level. As I navigated these consequences and reactions, I found strength in my resolve. I was no longer just a ranger. I had become a steward of stories, a bridge between the past and present. The mountain had opened my eyes to the power of connection, and I was determined to ensure that the narratives of the land continued to resonate with those who walked its trails. In the end, the most significant consequence of my experience was not just the transformation within myself, but the ripple effect it created throughout the community. We began to cultivate a culture of respect, a shared understanding of the importance of honoring both the land and its history. The mountain had given me a gift, a purpose, and I was committed to sharing that purpose with everyone around me. As the weeks turned into months, the journey I had embarked upon in the Swedish wilderness transformed not only my perspective as a forest ranger, but also my very identity. Each challenge I faced became an opportunity for growth, pushing me beyond my comfort zone and challenging my preconceived notions about nature, culture, and the role I played in both. The workshops we conducted became a cornerstone of our mission. They helped foster a deeper connection between the rangers and the land we served. I found myself more engaged than ever, passionate about sharing the stories we had uncovered. With each session, I witnessed my colleagues' growth as they began to understand the significance of the places we protected. Their initial skepticism melted away, replaced by a fervent curiosity to learn and respect the land's history. One memorable workshop involved a local indigenous elder named Anna, who came to share her knowledge of the land and its cultural significance. She spoke eloquently about her ancestors' relationship with the mountains, weaving narratives that brought the landscape to life. I watched as my fellow rangers listened, captivated, their eyes wide with wonder. Anna's presence had an undeniable impact, bridging generations and reminding us all of our interconnectedness with nature. During her visit, Anna shared a story about a sacred grove hidden deep within the forest, a place where her people would go to seek guidance and healing. She invited us to join her on a pilgrimage to this grove, and without hesitation, I signed up. I felt a pull, a calling to experience this sacred space for myself, and to deepen my understanding of the cultural significance it held. On the day of the pilgrimage, the air was crisp, and the sun filtered through the branches, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. A small group of rangers and community members gathered, anticipation palpable among us. As we made our way deeper into the woods, Anna led us, sharing stories and insights about the flora and fauna that surrounded us. Her words were like a balm, soothing the anxieties that had been building within me. When we finally arrived at the sacred grove, I was struck by its beauty. Tall trees formed a natural cathedral, their branches intertwining above us, creating a canopy that filtered the sunlight into soft, ethereal beams. The air was thick with the scent of pine and earth, and I could feel a palpable energy coursing through the space. It was a stark contrast to the confusion that had plagued me since my discovery in the cave. As we stood in a circle, Anna encouraged us to reflect on our intentions and ask the land for guidance. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, allowing the serenity of the grove to wash over me. I thought about my journey, the doubts I faced, the challenges I encountered, and the responsibilities I had assumed. The weight of it all pressed down on me, but in this sacred space, I felt a sense of clarity begin to emerge. Why am I here? I pondered, hoping for an answer from the universe. What is my role in all of this? In that moment of introspection, I felt a shift within me. The fears that had held me back began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of purpose. I realized that my experiences were not just about uncovering the past. They were also about creating a bridge to the future, a future where respect for nature and its stories could coexist with the modern world. As we concluded our gathering, each participant shared their reflections. I listened intently as my colleagues spoke of their newfound appreciation for the land and its history. The transformation I had witnessed in them mirrored my own growth, and I felt a sense of unity among us. We were no longer just rangers. We were stewards of a legacy that demanded our respect and attention. Returning to the ranger station after the pilgrimage, I felt invigorated. The sacred grove had opened my eyes to the possibilities that lay ahead. Armed with the knowledge I had gained, I began to implement changes within our team. We developed new guidelines for engaging with the community, emphasizing the importance of cultural sensitivity and environmental stewardship. In addition to fostering a deeper understanding among rangers, I initiated programs to educate visitors about the cultural significance of the land. We created interpretive signs along popular trails, detailing the history of the indigenous peoples who had inhabited the area for centuries. Guided tours were organized, incorporating storytelling and traditional knowledge to enhance the hiking experience for visitors. It was during one of these tours that I felt the true impact of our efforts. A group of hikers, eager and curious, listened intently as I shared the history of the sacred grove. I watched as their faces transformed from mere curiosity to genuine respect. They asked questions, engaged in discussions, and expressed gratitude for the knowledge we had shared. In that moment, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment, a realization that I was fulfilling my role as a ranger in a way I had never imagined. The ripple effect of our initiatives extended beyond the ranger station. Community members began to participate in conservation efforts, collaborating with us to restore habitats and protect the land. The stories of the mountain, once whispered only among a few, began to circulate widely, weaving themselves into the fabric of our community. Through all of this, I learned that growth often comes from facing discomfort and embracing change. My experience in the cave had been a catalyst, prompting me to question my motivations and redefine my purpose. It had pushed me beyond the boundaries of my previous understanding, allowing me to evolve into a more compassionate and aware steward of the land. As the seasons changed, I felt a sense of harmony within myself and in the community we had fostered. The mountain, with its hidden mysteries and ancient tales, had become a source of inspiration and strength, guiding us toward a future where respect for nature and its stories would endure. I was no longer just a guardian of the forest. I had become a custodian of its history, committed to ensuring that the voices of the past would continue to resonate for generations to come. As the days turned into weeks, a palpable tension began to build in the ranger station. The workshops, community engagements, and my personal journey of discovery had unified us in purpose, but beneath that surface lay a growing unease. The deeper I delved into the history of the land and the narratives of the indigenous peoples, the more I felt an impending confrontation looming on the horizon. It was as if the mountain was whispering secrets, beckoning me to uncover something far more significant than I had anticipated. One crisp morning, after a night of restless dreams filled with echoes of voices long gone, I gathered the team for an important meeting. The atmosphere in the room was charged with anticipation as I shared my concerns. "I believe we're on the brink of a revelation," I began, my voice steady but laced with urgency. "As we connect more with the community and the history of this land, I sense that we need to be prepared for what lies ahead." Anna, who had become a close ally in our efforts, nodded in agreement. "The stories we've uncovered have begun to resonate with the local community. People are sharing their experiences and connections to the land, and it feels like we're nearing a tipping point." I glanced around the room, meeting the eyes of my fellow rangers. They had grown increasingly passionate about our mission, but I could also see the flicker of uncertainty in some of their expressions. "We need to prepare ourselves for the possibility that the spirits of this land may demand acknowledgement. They might be waiting for us to truly listen and understand their stories." That evening, I proposed a night hike to the sacred grove, where we had previously gathered with the indigenous elder, Anna. I wanted us to immerse ourselves in the energy of the place once again, to seek clarity and guidance. "We'll go as a team," I said, "and spend the night there. We'll offer our intentions and listen to what the land has to say." The rangers agreed, and as we planned our excursion, the atmosphere shifted. There was a sense of camaraderie, a shared purpose that ignited our spirits. We packed our gear, determined to approach the sacred grove with reverence and openness. When the time came, we set out under the light of the full moon, its glow illuminating the path ahead. The forest felt alive, the sounds of nocturnal creatures echoing around us as we hiked deeper into the wilderness. The air was crisp and cool, filled with the scent of pine and earth. I could feel the anticipation building within me, a sense that we were stepping into a pivotal moment. As we approached the grove, the energy shifted. The tall trees loomed overhead, their branches swaying gently in the night breeze, creating a natural cathedral that felt both sacred and protective. We formed a circle in the center, the moonlight filtering through the branches, casting ethereal shadows on the ground. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the present moment. Tonight, we come together in this sacred space to honor the land and its stories. I began, my voice steady but filled with emotion. We seek guidance and clarity, and we open our hearts to the wisdom that this land has to offer. As I spoke, I felt the weight of the moment settle around us, a mix of reverence and vulnerability. We each took turns sharing our intentions, our hopes for the future, and our commitment to honor the legacy of the land and its people. I listened intently as my colleagues spoke, their words weaving a tapestry of connection and purpose. Anna, the elder, had taught us the importance of this ritual, and I could feel the energy of the grove responding to our intentions. The air grew thick with anticipation, as if the spirits were gathering to listen, to witness our dedication. After sharing our intentions, we stood in silence, allowing the energy of the grove to envelop us. The stillness was profound, a moment of collective breath as we opened ourselves to the possibility of communication. I closed my eyes, feeling the cool breeze against my skin, and listened intently, hoping to catch a glimpse of the messages hidden within the whispers of the trees. As I stood there, I felt a pulse beneath my feet, a rhythmic vibration that resonated through the earth. It was as if the land was responding to our presence, acknowledging our commitment to honor its stories. I opened my eyes to see my fellow rangers standing in a shared trance, each one deeply connected to the moment, to the land, and to each other. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the grove, rustling the branches and sending shivers down my spine. The temperature dropped, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. It felt as though the spirits of the land were drawing closer, preparing to reveal something significant. "Stay grounded," I whispered to myself, reminding myself of the purpose of our gathering. The sensation intensified, and I felt a surge of energy pulsing through me. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. My heart raced as I realized that we were on the brink of a revelation, a moment that could change the course of our understanding of the land and our roles as its guardians. As the wind howled around us, I closed my eyes once more, focusing on my breath. I could feel the energy swirling, and in that moment, I understood that we were not just protectors of the land. We were part of its story, woven into the very fabric of its existence. The mountain had called to us, and we were finally ready to listen. The wind howled through the grove, a powerful force that seemed to carry the weight of centuries. My heart raced as I stood in the center of our circle, surrounded by my fellow rangers. The energy in the air was electric, crackling with anticipation. It felt as though the very spirits of the land were gathering around us, ready to reveal their truths. As the gusts intensified, I sensed a shift in the atmosphere, a palpable tension that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. The tree branches swayed violently, almost as if they were trying to communicate with us. I closed my eyes, focusing on the energy swirling around, seeking clarity amidst the chaos. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the grove, reverberating in my chest. It felt like the heartbeat of the mountain itself, resonating with our intentions. I opened my eyes, and the world around me seemed to fade, leaving only the grove and the rangers before me. It was as though time had stopped, and we were suspended in a moment of profound significance. "Listen," I urged, my voice cutting through the wind. "We are here to honor you, to understand your stories. Please show us the way." In response, the wind picked up, swirling around us in a breathtaking dance. Leaves and twigs flew through the air, creating a dazzling spectacle. I could feel the presence of the spirits growing stronger, their energy intertwining with our own. It was a humbling experience, and I realized that we were not just passive observers. We were active participants in a ritual that transcended time. As the energy coalesced, I noticed a figure emerging from the shadows of the trees. It was a woman, ethereal in appearance, her form shimmering like sunlight reflecting off water. She appeared ancient yet timeless, her eyes filled with wisdom and sorrow. The rangers around me gasped in awe, and I felt a mix of fear and reverence wash over me. "Who are you?" I asked, barely able to contain my excitement. "Are you a spirit of the land?" The woman smiled softly, her voice flowing like a gentle stream. "I am the guardian of these mountains, a keeper of the stories that reside within. You have come seeking knowledge, and I am here to guide you." Her presence was calming, and I could feel the tension in the grove begin to dissipate. "What must we do?" I asked, my heart pounding in anticipation. "How can we honor the land and its stories?" She gestured toward the trees, her hands sweeping gracefully, as if inviting us to join in a dance. "To honor the land, you must first acknowledge its past. The spirits of those who have come before you linger in these woods, their stories waiting to be told. You must listen, learn, and share these stories with the world." I understood then that our journey had not merely been about uncovering secrets. It was about connecting with the very essence of the land. We were not just rangers. We were storytellers, tasked with preserving the narratives that shaped the wilderness we loved. As I stood there, enveloped by the energy of the grove, I recalled the tales shared by Anna, the elder. I thought of the sacred grove she had described, the place of healing and guidance. It became clear that we were not alone in our mission. We were part of a continuum, a bridge between the past and the present. The guardian's eyes glimmered with understanding. You must create a space for these stories to be shared. Gather the community, invite them to walk these trails, to listen to the whispers of the land. Share the knowledge you have gained, and remind them of the spirits that dwell here. With each word, I felt a sense of purpose surging within me. I turned to my fellow rangers, who were equally entranced by the vision unfolding before us. "We can do this," I said, my voice steady. "We can create workshops, guided hikes, and storytelling sessions that honor the history of this land." The Guardian nodded, her expression serene. "In doing so, you will weave the threads of the past into the fabric of the future. The land will thrive, and the spirits will be at peace." As her words settled in my heart, I could feel the energy in the grove intensifying once more. The wind swirled around us, lifting leaves from the ground and swirling them into a mesmerizing dance. It was as if the very spirit of the mountain was celebrating our commitment to its stories. Suddenly, the Guardian raised her hand, and the wind stilled. "Remember," she said, her voice echoing through the grove, "the stories of the land are not just for you, they are for all who tread upon it. Carry them with you, for you are now part of this sacred narrative." With those final words, she began to fade, her form dissolving into the air like mist in the morning sun. I felt a rush of warmth enveloping us, a blessing that filled the grove with light. As her presence dissipated, I realized that the weight of the mountain had lifted, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose. As the last remnants of her energy faded into the night, I looked at my fellow rangers, their eyes wide with wonder. We had shared an extraordinary experience, one that would shape our paths moving forward. In that moment, I understood the true significance of my role as a forest ranger, not just as a protector of the land, but as a guardian of its stories. Together, we would carry the voices of the past into the future, honoring the spirits of the mountains and ensuring that their tales would never be forgotten. The journey ahead would not be easy, but we were ready to embrace it, united in our commitment to preserve the legacy of the land we loved so dearly. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the grove, I felt a profound sense of peace settle within me. The night had transformed us, and the experiences we shared would forever be etched in our hearts. The Guardian's presence had reminded us of our responsibilities, not just as forest rangers, but as stewards of the land and its stories. Over the following weeks, we took tangible steps to honor that commitment. Inspired by the Guardian's words, our team organized community events that celebrated the rich history of the land. We invited local residents and visitors to join us for guided hikes, storytelling sessions, and workshops where we shared the wisdom we had gained. It was heartening to see the community come together, united in the goal of preserving the narratives that shaped our surroundings. With each event, I watched as people connected with the land in ways I had never seen before. Families gathered around campfires to share stories of their own connections to the mountains, while children listened intently to tales of the spirits that dwelled within. The energy was infectious, and I could feel the spirit of the land responding, its essence alive in the laughter and conversations that filled the air. The stories we shared became a bridge, linking generations and fostering a deep sense of respect for the wilderness. As we walked the trails together, I felt the weight of history surrounding us, guiding our steps. I knew that we were not just preserving the past, we were actively shaping the future, instilling a sense of responsibility in those who ventured into the forest. The experience had also transformed my relationship with my fellow rangers. We were no longer just colleagues. We had become a family, bound by our shared purpose and experiences. Each of us brought unique perspectives to our mission, and together, we formed a tapestry of knowledge and passion for the land. Reflecting on my journey, I realized that the mountain had challenged me to confront my own motivations and fears. It had pushed me to grow, to embrace the unknown, and to find strength in vulnerability. The Guardian's message had resonated deeply, reminding me of the importance of listening, both to the land and to one another. As I stood in that sacred grove, I understood that our role as rangers extended far beyond mere protection. We were the voices of the land, tasked with carrying its stories forward. I felt a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to ensure that the spirits of the mountains would continue to be honored and remembered for generations to come. Months later, the community gatherings had become a staple of life in the area. The local newspaper featured articles highlighting our events, and people traveled from neighboring towns to experience the stories of the land. The grove flourished with laughter, learning, and respect, becoming a place of healing and connection. I often returned to the sacred space, reflecting on the profound transformation I had undergone. The Guardian's presence lingered in my heart, guiding my actions as I continued my journey as a forest ranger, forever committed to honoring the stories of the mountains and the spirits that resided within them. Join us in honoring the stories of the land. Whether you're a hiker, a nature enthusiast, or simply curious about the rich heritage of our forests, we invite you to participate in community events and guided hikes. Together, we can explore the beauty of nature while fostering a deeper understanding of the cultural significance it holds. Let's ensure that the voices of the past are not forgotten and that the spirits of the land continue to inspire future generations. For more information on upcoming events, visit our website or contact your local ranger station today.